Okay, the truth is I forgot my muktzah book. So anyway, I wanted to talk about Rosh Chodesh Elul. This Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh. So there's a number of things generally about Rosh Chodesh, especially when it falls out on Shabbos, and also especially about Rosh Chodesh Elul. Now in the month of Elul, we add the Davar Hashem Eiri from Rosh Chodesh Elul through Hoshana Rabbah. So this Shabbos, so now you have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. So the custom is like this. The Rebbe writes in Ayom Yom, our custom is that on the first day of Rosh Chodesh, because again Rosh Chodesh this year is Shabbos and Sunday, so on Sunday, Shabbos, we begin saying the Davar Hashem Eiri. If it would be a weekday, we would practice shofar, but not officially blowing shofar. Second day of Rosh Chodesh, which this year would be Sunday, then after davening, you blow the customary tkiyas that we blow during the month of Elul. But even before that, when Rosh Chodesh, in other words, this Shabbos, so you have a half halal, Yalav, okay, but you have half halal, then you have the Yom, then you say Barchi Nafshi, and then you say L'Davar Hashem Eiri. Now the interesting thing, which one do we say first? Barchi Nafshi or L'Davar Hashem Eiri? So if you look in the Siddur, Barchi Nafshi is mentioned first. Barchi Nafshi is mentioned first, and then we have L'Davar Hashem Eiri. But it's really brought down in halacha that you do it that way. The Matar Ephraim brings down, because Barchi Nafshi we say every Rosh Chodesh. And Rosh Chodesh Elul is only once we say L'Davar Hashem Eiri on Rosh Chodesh. So therefore the rule is Tadir V'Sheina Tadir, more common. Less common, you do the more common one first. So therefore we do Barchi Nafshi first, and then we do L'Davar Hashem Eiri. Yeah, but again, Rosh Chodesh, what's more often? Barchi Nafshi, L'Davar Hashem Eiri on Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh, Barchi Nafshi comes first. That's what the Matar Ephraim brings down. So therefore we have that you say Barchi Nafshi, L'Davar Hashem Eiri. Now generally speaking, on Rosh Chodesh, you're supposed to have something special in honor of Rosh Chodesh. So it says in halacha that even when it's Shabbos, you're supposed to make a special dish. Even though you have all the Shabbos food, but you should make a special dish, something special just for Rosh Chodesh itself. Now, during the davening, okay, if you forget Yalav at night, Friday night this week we have to say Yalav. So Rosh Chodesh, if you forget it at night, you don't have to repeat the Shemona Esrei. It's only Rosh Chodesh. If you forget Yalav at night, you don't have to repeat the Shemona Esrei. Chol HaMoed, though, you would, but Rosh Chodesh you don't. Why don't you have to repeat Yalav in the Shemona Esrei if you forgot on Rosh Chodesh? Because the Gemara says, "Mekachin es Chodesh balayla." Bais Din, when they proclaimed the new month, based on the testimony of the witnesses, they were not allowed to do it at night, because it says b'yoyim, it has to be dafka during the day. So Bais Din never sanctified the moon at night. So because Bais Din never sanctified the moon at night, if you leave out Rosh Chodesh in the davening, you don't have to repeat the davening. Shachris, though, you would have to repeat it. What? Yeah, but Bais Din has to sanctify the moon the next day. In fact, many times what happens if the witnesses came very, very, very late, and Bais Din didn't have a chance to say Mekudesh when it was still day, they had to push it off for the next day. Yeah, because he can't proclaim Rosh Chodesh, the new month, at night. It has to be done dafka during the day. So therefore, at night, you have to say Yalav. In benching, you also have to say Ritzei and Yalav. Now, if you forget Yalav on Rosh Chodesh during benching, even during the day, you do not repeat benching for Yalav. So in other words, if somebody, let's say Friday night, was eating the Shabbos meal, and they said Ritzei, but they forgot Yalav, you don't have to repeat the benching. What happened if they forgot Ritzei and they said Yalav, then you do have to repeat the benching, because for Ritzei, you have to repeat the benching, especially at night. So therefore, but Yalav during benching, you don't have to repeat on Rosh Chodesh ever. The reason for that is Because on Yom Tif, L'moshel, you would have to repeat benching if you forgot Yalav Yovi. Chol Hamoed, if you forgot Yalav Yovi in benching, you don't repeat the benching. Yom Tif, though, you would have to repeat the benching. Why is that? So it's very simple. Halachos says, if there's an obligation to eat bread, and you mess up the benching, then you have to correct it. But a day where there's no obligation that you must eat bread, so then if you didn't mention it in the benching, so it doesn't matter. For instance, Rosh Chodesh, there's no obligation to eat bread. On a regular Rosh Chodesh, there's no obligation to eat bread. If there's no obligation to eat bread on Rosh Chodesh, then if you forgot it, you don't have to repeat it. Yom Tif, even at night, Yom Tif, there's an obligation to eat bread on Yom Tif. Challah, you have to wash. So therefore, if you forgot Yalav Yovi and benching on Yom Tif, because there's an obligation to eat bread, you would have to beat the benching. Chol Hamoed, there's no obligation to eat bread. Again, Chol Hamoed, you must wash and have bread. What? Yes. All Yom Tifs, all days of Yom Tif.
Usually you don't eat bread?
I'm saying there's no obligation that you must eat bread. That's what I say. If you don't want to eat bread, you don't eat bread on Rosh Chodesh.
Rosh Hashanah is the only Rosh Chodesh that we have.
Only day.
Only day of Rosh.
Because again, the Rebbe says why? Because Rosh Hashanah day, there are people that used to fast. So that means there was no such obligation that you must eat bread on Rosh Hashanah day. Rosh Hashanah night, you would have to repeat the benching. So anyway, I'm just telling you the halachos of Yalav Yovi. So if you forget Yalav Yovi Friday night in davening, you don't repeat it. If you forgot it by benching, you don't repeat it. Shabbos morning, if you forgot it by davening, you do have to repeat it. But this applies to every Rosh Chodesh, by the way. What happens if somebody forgot it by Shachris, and then they forgot all about it, and they daven Musaf. After Musaf, they realized that they didn't say Yalav Yovi by Shachris. Then the din is you don't have to repeat it. If I didn't daven Musaf yet, I'm not allowed to daven Musaf until I repeat Shachris. But if I wasn't aware and I daven Musaf, so then Shulchan Aruch says you don't have to daven Shachris again because Musaf covers it. One more interesting din. We know that in Shemona Esrei, let's say you're past Yalav Yovi and you remembered it, so you go back to Ritzei. We learned that din many times. But what happens the night of Rosh Chodesh? You're in the middle of Sim Shalom, and you realize you didn't say Yalav Yovi. You don't go back to Ritzei. You just finish the Shemona Esrei. Because at night, there's no inyan of, you didn't say Yalav Yovi, it doesn't matter. What do you want?
Why is it that, why, on Yom Tov you would repeat Shemona Esrei?
For Yalav Yovi, yeah. Because Yom Tif is at night too. Rosh Chodesh, because Bais Din is not Mekadosh the month at night.
And so the reason is not because of washing and not washing.
You're talking about benching or davening?
Davening.
What's davening have to do with washing?
No, why do you have to repeat minus davening by Yom Tov if you admit?
Forgot Yalav Yovi? Because it's night, it's Yom Tif. Night and Rosh Chodesh don't go together because Bais Din never sanctified the moon at night. But Yom Tif is at night, the Yom Tif is at night. It's the same Yom Tov as by day. So therefore you would have to repeat it. What?
What do you do by the early minyan?
What's really mean?
Friday night.
So they still say Yalav Yovi.
Even if it's early?
If you're davening Shabbos, that means for you it's Shabbos. If it's for you Shabbos, then it's Yom Tov, it's Rosh Chodesh too. If it's Shabbos, it's Rosh Chodesh. If you're bringing Shabbos early and you're davening and you're bringing, and Ma'ariv is Shabbos, that's what we were discussing even during the 9 days. If you bring Shabbos in early, you can already eat meat earlier because for you that's Shabbos. It's Shabbos, right? Halachically it's Shabbos. If it's Shabbos, if it's night, that means it's Shabbos. So it's the night, it's Rosh Chodesh also already.
And it's something that Shachris, daven, Musaf. It's not better to do it Tfilas Nadava.
No. B'chal nowadays you don't do Tfilas and Dava anyway because Tfilas and Dava needs a tremendous kavanah, if not brachal vatolas. So today we generally don't do Tfilas and Dava. But no, it says after Musaf you don't have to because Musaf covered it already. If you didn't daven Musaf, then you have to repeat the Shemona Esrei. Therefore, what happens? The guy started Musaf, yeah, and he said Magen Avramat Gibber, and then he realized he didn't say Yalav Yaveh for Shachris. So then he keeps davening, but not Musaf. But after Kel HaKodesh, he goes to Atochenin. Understand? But once he starts Musaf, he started Musaf. Like this, the first three brachas, he can go back. Okay, next. So Shabbos day. Okay, Shabbos day, again, it's half halal after Shachrit, before Kriyas HaTorah. Now, what's the din if somebody is in the middle of halal? What are you allowed to answer in the middle of halal? Can you say Kedusha? Can you say, what are you allowed to say? What are you allowed to answer? So the din is, to make it short and sweet, according to what the Alter Rebbe holds, that even half halal is the same thing in Birchas Krishma. Whatever you're allowed to say in Birchas Krishma, whatever you're allowed to answer between Yetzer Or and Shmoneh Esrei, that's what you're allowed to answer in middle of halal. Which means, Amen Yesh Me'Rabba, Amen after Damin and Ba'alma Vimro, Amen. You can answer Baruch Hu. You can only answer Chodesh, Baruch, and Yimlech, those three sentences, nothing of the Shabbos editions that you're not allowed to answer. But basically, what you're allowed to answer in middle of Birchas Krishma, that's what you can answer in middle of Halal. That's the halacha of that.
Someone has a minhag not to say bracha on halal,
Yeah, well, it has to do with the bracha. The reason why there's a shaila on the bracha is because halal is one of the 7 rabbinic mitzvahs. One of the 7 rabbinic mitzvahs is the mitzvah of halal. Now, the rabbinic mitzvah itself is only when there's complete halal. Any day where there's what we call half halal, that means you omit part of halal, it's basically a minig. So, Lamashal, the Rambam says clearly, on half halal, you don't make a bracha. Many Sfardim do that also. They don't make a bracha. Okay? So, why? Because it's a minig. You don't make a bracha on a minig. Other poskim write, and basically, that you do say a bracha because it's a minig based on halacha of halal. So this is only half, but the pearl halal is a mitzvah. So if you look in the Siddur, what's officially the Chabad custom? Officially, the Chabad custom is that if you're in it with a minyan, yeah, so you listen to the Chazan's bracha, you don't say Baruch Hu Baruch Shema, you answer Amen, and then you're fulfilled with your bracha of halal, and the same thing at the end, you listen to the Chazan's ending of the bracha, and then you're covered. That is what it says in the Siddur, that's what it says in a lot of places. Lepel, there was a Sikha that the Rebbe edited, and the Rebbe says over there that the earlier Chassidim, Rebbe said the expression in Yiddish, they couldn't hold themselves back from making a bracha on halal, so before the Chazan would say the bracha on halal, they would already say the bracha before the Chazan. Is that official Chabad minig? No. The Rebbe said that's what Chassidim used to do. So people do it, people don't do it. But there's no, officially what it says, that the Alter Rebbe writes in the Siddur is that you listen to the Chazan's bracha and you yaitze the mitzvah. The Rebbe didn't say that's what you're supposed to do. The Rebbe said, all the Chassidim, but you get the point. If the Rebbe mentioned it, there's a point there, obviously.
And if you did say the bracha, do you answer Amen? Can you answer Amen to the Chazan, or you can't answer?
Only if you finished before him.
Finish before it.
Yeah, a lot of guys write that you're not allowed to answer Amen. I don't know why, but because it's not any different than a lot of other things. You're saying a bracha, and
Yeah, but we say you can only answer things that you would do by Shema Kohen.
when the Chazan says Baruch Atah Hashem Yitzeh Ma'eres, you answer Amen. Because what? Because what? That's that bracha. Normally you don't answer Amen on brachas, but that's the bracha. So this is the bracha of halal. What?
and the Chazan is ahead of you, so he finished one bracha, you're seven, whatever.
You mean you're ahead of the Chazan?
No, he's ahead of you.
You said you're in the middle of Krishma?
No. Birchas Krishma.
Yeah.
And he's like a paragraph ahead of me. He finished one bracha, and on that time?
You're still in the middle of the bracha?
Yeah.
No. No, only if you finish the bracha.
So what if I finish one bracha?
With, before the chazan, if you say it together with them, you don't say amen either.
Right. Or if you finish.
Right.
So what if you finish one bracha and he already said the next bracha and everybody says amen? Then you say amen to that.
If you finish Eitz HaMeir, see that you could answer amen too.
The second bracha you don't answer
Correct.
anyway. It's a bit-
What?
The second bracha
Abech Ba'misol B'Yava.
you don't say.
It's also machlekes. Why do we say the bracha quietly?
So they don't have to answer amen.
Why? What do you care?
There is a machlok.
Because there's a machlekes in halacha. If you say amen after Abech Ba'misol B'Yava or not. Some poskim say you do, some poskim say you don't. So how do you solve the issue? If the chazan says the bracha quietly, then you can't answer amen anyway. So then everybody's good.